Welcome to Spoonful of Strength, a podcast for people with chronic illness and the ones who love them, where we talk all things chronic. Here's your host, Rachel and Tina.
Welcome to Spoonful of Strength.
Are you excited about this episode, Tina?
I cannot believe that we are recording our final episode today. Of season one, not our final. Don't don't want them all to think we're skedaddling out of here. But yeah, our first season, 30th episode. Can you believe that?
Not at all. Can you tell them what we just did? We've got some outtakes that we're going to put at the end of the episode, but you got to tell them what we tried to do and miserably failed.
So we thought it would be cute for us both to say at the exact same time, welcome to Spoonful of Strength for the introduction. And it was awful because I think we have a little bit of delay. We have a little bit of delay between trying to do this from, like, I'm currently actually at my camper up in New York, up in the Finger Lakes, and Rachel's out in Indiana. So we decided to do it individually and let Rachel do her magic and put it together. So we were not as coordinated. If that actually ended up working, we weren't as coordinated as it made it sound. It's just that Rachel is an amazing editor.
Well, it got to be funny because we kept trying it and I was like, well, that sounded good. And you're like, well, that didn't sound good. We couldn't figure out the delay and all that.
Sound good on my end. It sounded good on.
Oh my gosh. One last outtake for this season. We got to do that, right? Well, yeah, this is kind of a bittersweet moment. I mean, let's talk a little bit about how we got here. I think that both of us just wanted to do a podcast and talk about chronic illness and talk about things that we're interested in, and it kind of snowballed into where we're at now. I mean, what do you think, Tina?
Yeah, it's definitely originally I was going to say I came along for the ride because I have a bad habit of not saying no. And when you reached out and asked if I would be interested in doing the podcast, of course I said yes. But but it really was because I believed in what the focus was and what we need to do as far as spreading awareness.
Did we originally talk about bringing people on to interview? I mean, I think we discussed it, but I don't think it was as big as it's become.
It definitely became bigger. I thought we kind of came up with our weekly topic ideas for podcasts. And then we're like, well, maybe we can sprinkle in every now and then we can have a guest speaker to share their story originally. But when you shared that idea you got so many responses that it evolved into something bigger than what we were initially planned.
Do you remember the day that we decided to record both episodes on the same day? And we spent 4 hours talking with each other and interviewing each other for these first 2 episodes. You're laughing now. You know where I'm going with this. And so it was the first time that I was going to edit, a completed episode. And I pull up the audio. And all I hear is Tina go, "How are you doing, Rachel?" And then silence. "Oh, well, that's good. What are you doing this week?" Silence. And somehow my microphone didn't pick up. And so we had 4 hours of unused. And I was devastated. I was like, this
4 hours of me talking.
Yeah. If anybody wants that, I'm selling it on my Etsy shop for $39.99.
When I'm rich and famous, maybe it'll be a collector item.
I guess, but I just and I was so upset. I remember, like, I don't want to tell Tina, and Tina was so gracious and said, "You know what? That was just our practice. Let's do it again."
Yeah, we'll just redo it again. We'll redo it. Yep.
And I think those first episodes, I think they were like an hour and a half each, and we're like, okay, we need to not talk so much.
Actually, it ended up working out that we had to re-record because we're like, oh my God, we need to cut this back some.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, we were using software that wasn't the greatest. And so the quality wasn't the greatest. And I remember locking myself in my closet, which is very tiny. And I was in there for 4 hours doing this
I remember
interview.
that.
And it was definitely memorable, but we thought it would be a good way to just introduce ourselves. And hopefully throughout the season, you've gotten to know us a little bit better as we've shared, some parts of our lives and what's going on. But yeah, I remember. Do you remember all the audio issues we had and all
Yep.
all the background? There's one in the outtakes where Tina sounds like she's like a DJ, where your voice is like hi, blah, 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 blah. Like everything was like,
Oh, it had like this weird echo in the background or
yeah.
something.
I think it was a few episodes in before we started, using Zoom, which has saved us. And
Yeah. On your end as well, using the original program because we weren't just in case something happened with Zoom. Like I forgot to hit record or something like that.
oh
Like,
my gosh,
who
we
who
did
would
that.
ever do that?
We have done that 3 times. I
Yep.
know we
Yep.
did it with Julie.
Yeah.
We did it with
Did we do it with Gia?
Gia.
Yeah.
And then I
Julie
think
and
we did it with Rocio. Yeah, I think we did it with
yeah.
Rocio. And it
Thankfully
was so
we
embarrassing.
thankfully we noticed it pretty early on though.
Yeah,
Like
within a couple minutes.
within minutes of it. We
Yeah.
weren't like we did not have to do a walk of shame of reaching back out to them and letting them know that we
Yeah.
completely forgot. We have each other's backs, so
We know each other pretty well, being sisters-in-law for 25 years.
and friends
20
even longer than that.
You and I have been together for quite a while, and I'm so
I know.
excited
You and I have
that
been together longer than you and my brother have been. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
I'll admit there's one thing that I have not mentioned at all during this first season that I don't think I've ever even mentioned it to you, but like looking back at my cancer with my cancer journey, my as I was going through my cancer journey, that was when your MS was starting to progress.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was a really hard time for me because at the time I really struggled with the thought that I can beat what I have, but what you have is going to continue to progress. And so I really struggled with that.
Mm.
And that's something that I've never really put out there, but I just want you to know how much I struggled with seeing your journey versus my journey has been tough.
And it's funny because I felt like during that time that I was so overcome with my situation that I didn't feel like I was a good support for you. At least the doctors had said, MS isn't going to kill you. It's just going to, they kind of downplay it. It's, you're going to have it for the rest of your life and all that. But to be handed statistics and cancer is very scary. And so that was a hard time for both of us. And I think that we both made it through the other end, and I'm still fighting. I'm not going anywhere. So
Yep, I'm too stubborn.
yeah, there you go. Well, let's talk about, we mentioned it just a few moments ago about how our Spoonies kind of blew up into something bigger than we had imagined. Do you want to recap our Spoonies and just give them credit for turning this season into something that was beyond our thinking of what it could be? Do you want to talk about our Spoonies that we had on this season?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we just had such amazing people. Our first interview, I remember our first interview with Clarity with functional neurological disorder, and she is from Australia. And she was just so inspirational she has this amazing, her Instagram, her YouTube videos
Oh, they're beautiful.
And so young and just such an amazing outlook on raising an awareness of her chronic illness. And it was just inspirational of what
Yeah.
she's out there doing with raising awareness and just having like her mindset is just incredible.
Especially for how young she is. I mean, so you definitely have to check her out because her little mini videos, every one of them has like a really special message. So that's been that was our first one, and what a way to start.
So Clarity was generous enough to send us a little clip, a little bit of feedback on her experience of being a guest on our Spoonful of Strength episode. So have a listen on what Clarity had to say about her experience with us.
My name is Clarity, and I had the opportunity to share my journey with functional neurological disorder on the podcast. It was such a rewarding experience to dive into the different aspects of living with FND, spread awareness, and provide a clearer understanding of what it's really like to live with this condition. I'm grateful for the chance to form new connections, and I hope that by referring others to the podcast, they'll feel less alone in their own chronic illness journey.
Our second interview, I actually had to do on my own. That's when you had a death in your, I'm going to say family, one of your closest friends. So we made time for you to be able to kind of take that week off and spend it with your friends and family. I was able to interview Christina, who has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. That was a very interesting conversation. She is just a very smart woman. I mean, she's has so much grace, and she has poetry that has been published. And she recently went through a Middlebury language program where, like an immersion program where all she spoke was Italian. You know, just a very, very smart woman. And that was the first time I had ever heard of Ehlers-Danlos as well. Sorry you didn't get a chance to meet her. We should try and have her back on next season just for a check-in or something.
Yeah, I'm still determined to do, I would love to do like a couple live episodes.
Yeah.
Where we have some of our former Spoonies hop on and do just like an open chat, I think would be amazing.
Definitely.
So then after Christina, we had Mayra. She has MS. And she was such a, like, everybody, I'm going to say this about everybody that we interviewed, but such a lovely person. Like, I just, like everybody that we have met through this journey just truly feeds my soul.
She was just really bubbly, you know. You would never have guessed that she went through hell and back with all that she had been through. But yeah, just bubbly. And I remember she had that video that she shared with us, and I think we linked it to her episode, and it was so raw. I remember, do you remember her recording, you know, times that she was in pain or frustrating times? Right. And yeah,
which is, that's another thing that I love is the rawness that all of these, they're willing to show people at their worst time. You know, the hardest points in their life is just, it takes a lot of brave. It's pretty brave to do that. Yeah. Mayra also sent us a little clip about her experience of being a guest on our podcast. We really appreciate this feedback and knowing what they, knowing how their experience was. So have a listen on Mayra's feedback on her experience of being a guest on our episode where she talked about her MS and trigeminal neuralgia.
Hello to all my chronically ill Spoonies out there. I had this amazing opportunity to share my story on my journey to my diagnosis to multiple sclerosis. My experience with Tina and Rachel was so therapeutic as we discussed what was my very first symptom of trigeminal neuralgia, to having many gaslighting second opinions, to not only receive my MS diagnosis, but finding my forever neurologist, to raising awareness on wrongful termination, yet finding myself career-wise once again. To navigate my everyday challenges, I know there are many of my warrior spoonies out there, and I encourage and will be your cheerleader, as SpoonFull of Strength has given us this great platform to share stories, to changing the world one spoonie at a time, and to living our best life. Thank you, ladies. I love you all.
Next, we had Rocio from Madrid. And what I really loved about her, she seemed to have a really beautiful soul. And there was a language barrier there. English wasn't her first language, but she was prepared and really was able to communicate with us and spread awareness for Sjogren's, which again, I never heard of before, but just a very, very sweet and beautiful soul. And all she wanted to do was spread awareness, and the communication barrier didn't stop her. When she was real sweet.
Yeah.
Rocio was so kind and left us a message about her experience being on the podcast. So let's see what she's got to say.
I wanted to say that it was a pleasure to be in your podcast, to talk about my Sjogren's syndrome, which I suffer since I had 27 years old. Now I'm 40. Thank you very much for letting me to be interviewed by you. It was amazing. You are so kind, and I would like to be with you again in the future to talk about autoimmune disease, about our life, about our resilience, and about a lot of things in order to help people to improve their lives.
Then after Rocio, we had Gia. I believe Gia's in California, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And she had another hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos and osteogenesis imperfecta. I really enjoyed, like I said, I love all of them, but like Gia with her connection of the environment and her mission with that just really connected with me, in addition to her, what she deals with the chronic illness, but how that has shaped her with, her outlook and how she's had to step away from her career as a performer and has shifted into something slightly different with raising awareness, not just with her chronic illness, but environmental awareness as well, which is a very important factor. She was another very bubbly person.
We also had not a spoonie, but we also interviewed Cards to Warriors. And when I had my surgery in July, I haven't even told you this, I got so many cards. I'm not lying. I probably got 20. I got cards from individuals that were connected with the organization. I got sent inspirational stickers, a little bracelet. I mean, it was overwhelming, just like how much love I felt in the days leading up to and the days after. It sure does make a recovery a lot easier when you're receiving that amount of love. And so you can sign up for their mail that's done throughout the year. And then if you know somebody, or if yourself is going through like a major event, such as a surgery or a relapse, then you can sign up for the specialty cards. And that's what I signed up for. And anybody who's going through that, do it, because all that love and support made such a big difference.
Absolutely. And especially, and I think we touched on this in a previous podcast, of how people, your friends and family and coworkers, those that are closest to you, tend to rally around you initially once you share that initial diagnosis. But as the years go on, I'm 6 years into cancer, in my cancer, and yes, I'm clear, but I'm never going to not be dealing with the possibility of it coming back.
People go on about their lives and you don't have that rally around you. So what Cards to Warriors does is help you not feel like you're forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
They recognize that you're still going, 5, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 years later, you're still dealing with this.
Yeah.
And to just randomly get those cards of encouragement really can help you keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Karissa has Chiari malformation and a CSF leak. Yeah, she was again another great guest talking about her Chiari.
Yeah, and she had a really great attitude. If you remember, she had to spend 20 hours a day laying on her back and still had such a great attitude about everything and was very bubbly and so we're definitely wishing her to get that figured out so that she can get up and get moving a little bit more. We also the following week had Stephen on. Stephen was talking to us about actually the same thing, Chiari malformation and a CSF leak. Stephen was our first man that we had come on, and I was really excited. Come on, men. We're asking for more of you to step forward here. But
he actually was our first and only man on episode 1 or on season 1. So
yeah. And I think what stood out to me with him is he has a great following on Instagram because he's very open about what has happened with him. And he's also really wanting to make a difference in the community. He's got a walk coming up in just a couple weeks and that he's on the board for. He also, if you remember, got the bridge lit up purple in Tampa.
Yes.
Yeah. And organized that. And so, he's just an individual that is just wants to get it out there and talk about Chiari malformation and just wants to make a difference. He wanted to send some kind words to us, so we'll let you all listen to that.
Hey everyone, my name is Steven. I was featured on Rachel and Tina's podcast, A Spoonful of Strength. They were great hosts. I'm happy I was able to share my story with living with Chiari malformation on their platform. And I'm looking forward to continue to see their podcast grow and listening to other people's stories that live with chronic illness.
And then after Stephen, we had Michelle, and she was talking to us about primary ciliary dyskinesia, that was definitely one that I had never heard of and had no clue what that was and what that entailed.
Yeah. And she came to us from Northern Ireland. So I know you mentioned you loved her accent.
I did. I could have talked to her forever. I love Ireland. We went there, I think, trying to remember because it just popped up on our Facebook page. I think she was in Northern Ireland though, and we never did get up to Northern Ireland. We were, but 2016 we did. So like I'm always a huge fan of anything Irish. That it's that part Irish blood in us in me. She was very, very involved in raising awareness, not just in Ireland, but if I remember correctly, she was involved over in the UK.
Yeah, she was heavily involved with the PCD Foundation in the UK of helping to raise awareness, and she's such a sweetheart. I think it's always scary when you have an illness that affects breathing. Like how scary that must be for her. And she, again, is just wanting to raise awareness for PCD and doing it with a positive attitude.
So Michelle also was kind enough to send us a little bit of feedback, a little recording on her experience of being a guest on our podcast. So have a listen of what Michelle had to say and what she shared with her experience.
Hey, it's Michelle here. Just wanted to send a few words in about being a guest on the podcast. Just to say that I really appreciated the time that you guys took to listen to me talk about PCD and to really help the audience understand what it is, but also how it affects you. The questions were great. It was a really easy interview to do because you guys are just really do pay attention and you do a bit of research and you understand what it's like to live with a chronic illness. And I think that the compassion that you guys have really shines through when it comes to the podcast. And thank you for allowing so many people to shine a spotlight on their different conditions, how it affects them, and importantly, how people can find out more about it. Wishing you loads of luck for the next season. And yeah, thank you so much.
Our next guest was Callie, and she was brave enough to talk to us about mental health. When I think about Callie, I just think about how brave she is of talking about something that I imagine is just so difficult to talk about. And she had a beautiful poem that she posted on Instagram today that just broke my heart. So she's very talented, and I guess, brave is the first word that comes to mind.
I enjoyed her. Out of all of the chronic illnesses, my personal opinion is that people tend to be more judgmental and not as accepting with people who struggle with mental illness. And she is just so encouraging. She's so inspirational. She doesn't hold back about her struggles. She shares her struggles, and that is so important for the others that struggle with mental illness to not feel so alone or not so judged with what they're dealing with. Mental health is a tough topic that I know each season I feel like we're going to be having conversations about your mental health as you maneuver everything. So that was I'm sure a hard one for her to get out there and share. And I give her big kudos for being so open with her journey on that. After Callie, we had Em, or I should say I did, because that actually I interviewed Em on my own. She is from Australia. That was while you were recovering. That was the week that you had your shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
So, she shared with me about her multiple sclerosis journey, and it was really interesting. I really enjoyed talking to somebody from a different country regarding MS, because I guess I'd never really realized how other countries are so progressive in their treatment versus the US.
Yeah.
Like, I was not aware that a stem cell transplant was even an option. It's not something that's offered or done in the States for MS. And she actually said that there are people in the US that she knows that have traveled out of the country for these treatments. She was an amazing, amazing person. Everything that she went through, it's encouraging her how she has responded to the transplants and how controlled right now her MS is.
Next, we had Kate come on and talk about miserable malalignment syndrome. Again, something I've never heard of. I still think they need a better name than that. When you talk about things that are painful, broken bones, especially the femur. So for her to have multiple surgeries where her femur had to get broken and put back together, and knowing she's got some surgeries coming up, she is just very upbeat and positive. I just really thought a lot about her, and was another great guest that we had on. And Kate was nice enough to send us a little message about her experience being on the podcast.
Hey everyone, my name is Kate, and I was on season 1 of Spoonful of Strength discussing my conditions of miserable malalignment syndrome and Ulnar-Buttman syndrome. My experience on the podcast was remarkable. I truly love how Rachel and Tina cultivate a sense of comfort while I was sharing my story. It really felt like a conversation and like I was talking to some of my closest friends. Their care and concern for the people they interview is so authentic, and being on the podcast has motivated me even more to share my story. I'm really looking forward to this podcast continuing and learning so much more from our chronic illness community.
After Kate, we had Danny, and she was sharing her journey with rheumatoid arthritis, which I thought was I feel like it was great, only because I know that we have that in our family. One of my brothers actually has RA. I know I tested for being a carrier for the RA factor, but the last time I was tested, that was when they diagnosed me with fibromyalgia, because I did not actively have RA. I just carried the RA factor. So I tested positive for RA factor. So I know that eventually down the road, that's a possibility of starting to flare up. So I'm always interested to hear more about RA. I also have one of my best friends suffers from RA, and I can see the struggles that she goes through as well. So it was nice to, not nice, because I'm sad that we have to have any of these on our podcast. I'm sad that we actually have to have this podcast, by the way.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she was just a great person to chat with and learn more about the daily struggles of RA.
Yeah. It's one of those illnesses that you've heard. I see commercials almost every day for rheumatoid arthritis, commercials, but it was very interesting to hear her point of view and what she has to go through, and just a very strong individual. And her Instagram page is just filled with positivity, and she's still got 2 young kids, and so dealing with a chronic illness with kids, I know is extremely hard, and she's just doing great at it.
I know as they're younger, it's tough for them to understand, why is mommy or daddy, why can't you come out and play with us like everybody else is? Or, it can be a rough situation. Danny actually she was another one that was very nice about sharing a little bit of feedback on her experience of being a guest on our podcast. So have a listen of what Danny was so graciously shared with us.
I had an awesome time interviewing for Spoonful of Strength. I talked about, my name is Danielle Santagros, and I was on my episode talking about my rheumatoid arthritis journey and my journey with chronic pain since I was a kid. The experience with them was amazing. They were so welcoming, and I had a great time. And I hope many, many more people share their experiences. Have a good one. Bye.
Our next guest, we almost didn't get to the actual interview part. Miranda came to us to talk about POTS, and she is a dancer and a performer that moved to New York City to follow her dreams. And so we almost didn't get a chance to interview her because we were too busy talking about Broadway shows and music and all of that. But I was like, I don't want to quit talking, but we do have to actually ask you questions. But
both of us, Rachel and I, both were like, Broadway musicals. We can talk. Let's just do the episode about that instead of POTS.
Yeah. And POTS wasn't. I think when I first started Spoonful of Strength, POTS was like the first illness that I started seeing. When people followed our Instagram page, that I started seeing POTS come up, and I'm like, well, what in the world, is that? And so I kind of went into it knowing very little about it, and it seems like a very scary illness because passing out, I think, is one thing that, if I had that, I would probably never want to leave my house, because I feel like a lot of times, you never know when it's going to happen. And
Right.
and then to be a dancer on top of that and being performing and I think with Miranda, I just got just a graceful, she just had a very graceful demeanor. And she started her Instagram page for a lot of the same reasons that we started Spoonful of Strength. And it's just to educate people about POTS and to grow a community. And, she's just done a wonderful job.
I really enjoyed her as well, of, just learning how. I think one of the things that I enjoyed with everybody is learning how they've had to adjust, or maybe they haven't had to adjust their daily lives based on what they're dealing with. So after Miranda, we had Julie, who has scoliosis, and another Chiari malformation person, which it's interesting. Because I know that you had said you had never, until we started this, you weren't aware of Chiari. I had heard of it and understood. I knew that it was something to do with the brain, and your spinal, like the spine and that type of thing. But I didn't know a lot. I just knew very basic. So it's very interesting, the amount of people who deal with Chiari on a on a daily basis. It blows my mind. And of course, scoliosis. So I remember the days of, I think we briefly touched on that, but I don't think they do it anymore. But do you remember in gym class?
Mm-hmm.
Where
line us up.
Line us up and check us for scoliosis. And now I don't think that's a thing anymore. But so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And if you remember, she had that job of, she's now working with people with disabilities outdoors.
Oh my gosh, that's right. She did. Yes. Yeah. And you know me and the nature connection and the healing abilities of connecting to nature. So I absolutely loved what Julie is doing and how she has shifted her focus, her career into something. She shaped her career into something that is also meeting her purpose of what she's going through.
Yeah. Yep. That was a great one. We ended this season with our final 2 episodes. We had Rare Patient Voice, which just came out last week. And we were really excited to have them on as an organization to talk about what they do. They provide market research through surveys or clinical trials. Their mission is to try to spread awareness and information to be able to find new medicines. What other things did they talk about?
I feel like what they do is really helping the overall support, like offering the support opportunities for those that are dealing with chronic illness.
Yeah.
Whether it be, they help with the research of, like the assist, like your mobility assistance, or, things that you may need help with that particular chronic illness, but also raising awareness, patching people into the clinical trials, which can be if you don't know, they're out there. No matter what your disorder or chronic illness is, I have no doubt there's some sort of clinical trial or research or something that's out there going on for that particular one, but you may not know how to find it. And that's what Rare Patient Voice does, is make those, they help make those connections, which is just so important. And then our final guest, we had Kim, and she shared her journey with lupus. And I really liked her. She had such an amazing attitude. It was pretty interesting to hear her journey and what she's gone through. And she really hit that nail on the head as far as those who tend to be give, and learning how to accept people giving back to you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people who are givers struggle with accepting. Again, she was
She was
just another
amazing.
amazing. She was just so, yeah, such a great guest. I don't know. I wouldn't even be able to, like, if somebody said pick your favorite, I wouldn't be able to pick a favorite. Because every single one that we met and every single one that came on to our podcast and shared our story have so much to put out there and so much to give to the world and to support others going through that.
Yeah. And I really like the fact that, Kim leaned on her faith, and she seems to be a woman of faith and had good support system around her to get through what she's had to go through. So I'm with you. Everybody's been great, and everybody's story is different, and everybody is giving us insight into their lives. And when I say every single person that we had on this season was a home run, I mean, it was just amazing individuals. Amazing.
Yep. We originally started this as a way to share not just our stories, but to help support other people. And it has shifted into a safe space for others to share their stories. That is, to me, that is a much more important mission than what we initially thought our mission was going to be for what we were embarking on.
And so we just can't thank everybody enough for helping us during our first season. So we're going to make sure and tag everybody on the description in the podcast. I would encourage you to, as you've been listening to us, to find the people that you feel like you're connecting with and to be able to look up their episode and really get to know these individuals, because every single episode, you will find somebody who is pouring their heart out and raising awareness, and couldn't do it without them. So
no. And the important thing also to keep in mind is, even if you feel like, oh, wow, I really like this person, I really feel like I connected with like their mindset or their mission or that type of thing, but I don't have the same thing. I have something completely different. That doesn't matter. We are all supporting. It doesn't matter what we're going through. One of Dave's favorite, trains, planes, automobiles, we're all dealing with something,
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you have MS or Chiari or lupus. It's that community of people that are understanding where you're coming from, regardless of whether they're dealing with the same thing that you are or not. They're still dealing with crap.
Now, Tina, you said something earlier about you would not be able to pick your favorite Spoonie episode. But what about a non-Spoonie episode? We're not going to go through them all, but what was your favorite?
With our topics? Yeah. Well, what was you already pinpointed when we were chit-chatting the other day. I
already know.
I know. My favorite is probably the mindfulness episode, only because I found so much solace in turning to mindfulness and meditation through my journey, that I was super excited to be able to share that with others, and hopefully give them a tool as well.
My favorite episode, I think, if I go through them, of course, I loved the episode where we brought my husband on to give his side of being a supportive caregiver. But I really would say that my favorite episode was the episode about cognitive impairment, because that is something that I'm struggling with a lot. You guys get the edited version, so a lot of my ums and things, will get taken out. But that episode, we were halfway through the episode, And we just, I think the only part of the episode that was actually edited out was us saying, we should not edit this episode, because
Oh, yeah, that was yeah.
why are we going to do a cognitive episode and we're going to
And then
fix it all up and tie it up in a pretty bow and say, this is what cognitive impairment is. So it was in the middle of the episode that we're like, we're doing this.
As you mentioned, the cognitive episode, it's like, it's that was just kind of a smidgen of what we've dealt with. The amount of times that Rachel has had to text me going, are you going to get on? And I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite moment of the season that you can think of?
That's a good question. Think about that one.
Or something that you learned from the season, from an episode or anything like that. And if not, we can skip it.
Yeah, no. For me, the biggest thing is that, I guess, as we talked about with my cancer journey and everything, I was always very open with sharing. And I always wondered if I was oversharing, and so having the opportunity to talk to other people that are out there using their voice with what they're going through and sharing and raising awareness has helped me realize that what I do is also important. It's important for everyone out there that are dealing with their own illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Oh, I think it's very similar to what you had said, of just seeing these people open up their hearts to strangers. And I downplay MS a lot. I downplay the mental side of MS a lot. But if I'm honest, it is a daily struggle. It is progressing. There are so many things right now that I have going on that I don't share, and I'm hoping to be able to share a little bit more. But I tend to kind of make it less than maybe what it is. But in seeing all these people that come on and just are so real about what they've been through, I'm right there with you. And also, it was also nice to have my husband come on, just to feel the love from him is just special.
That was a good one.
Did you have a chronic illness that we talked about this season that maybe you'd never heard of? I know a lot of them we haven't heard of, but one that surprised you?
I'm looking at our list here of the ones that we've had. I would say for me was Kate with the miserable malalignment syndrome. I never heard of that. I never realized that was even a possibility of that. How about yours? Do you have one?
I would say Gia's story, the one thing that literally took my breath away was her story about performing on stage and walking to the front of the stage to bow at the end of the performance and breaking her jaw.
That was crazy.
That was, I think, for me, I read kind of her bio and I had to read it over. For me, I mean, she seems a lot stronger than I am, but for me, I would have such anxiety about doing anything when something that bad could happen with such a little, movement. So for me, that one was just, yeah.
I can't imagine that.
Crazy.
I never want to smile. I never want to, it really impacts how you want to interact.
Yeah. Well, we're about time to do the giveaway winner. I'm so excited. But are there any maybe we take a moment to just say final words for this season. Does that sound okay?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. So, as for me, I know I've already said it a little bit, but I really have to thank the individuals that helped us out this year. My heart, I feel like, grew 3 times over just listening and connecting with all of you. So for everybody that came on this season, just a heartfelt thank you. I want to say that I don't want it to sound dramatic, but I feel like that this time in my life, the last 6 months or so, has changed my life in that I went into this journey just wanting to be a better person, wanting to be kind to people, wanting to become a better person. And every moment of this has just been amazing. And I have to tell you, Tina, and I can't look at you right now on Zoom because I don't want to get emotional. But there's not one person in the world that I would rather have done this with. And I feel like that over the years, we've always been friends. We've always been sisters-in-law. But distance and time,
not sisters-in-law. Yeah.
I feel like, time and illness and distance away, that we weren't as close as we were in the beginning. And I just value your friendship and your love and your support. And there's nobody else that I would want to share this journey with. And I love you. And on a personal note, my family has supported me through my crazy idea of wanting to start all of this. And my husband has just been amazing. And I think I have the 3 best kids in the world. They are all just my everything, and just always there for me. And so I want to thank them as well. But this has just been joy of my life, and I cannot wait to start season 2. Tina, do you have any final words before we do this giveaway everybody's waiting for?
Mm-hmm. I need to wipe my tears away from that, but I will also I'll kind of reiterate what you said as far as embarking on this journey with you. We were friends before we were family. But when you approached me with this and we were starting to chit chat about this idea, it was, I didn't even hesitate, because it's tough for me to be away from my family, to have majority of them all out there in Indiana, and I'm living in Maryland. I only see you all a couple times a year. Even though we text and we chat multiple times a week.
Yeah.
We go in spurts with that. But it was an honor to be asked to be part of this, because I miss you.
Mm.
I miss being able to see you as often as I used to before I moved here.
Yeah.
And it's been hard for me to see you on your journey. And so for me, it was more of helping you find your purpose in all of this, and supporting you the best I can. And that was initially why I agreed to it. But now I realize how fulfilling it is for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're both getting a lot more than we imagined. So,
right. Yep.
So, and of course, we have to thank the listeners who listen to us jabber on and on about us going to the grocery and forgetting items, and ordering Dunkin' Donuts from the wrong location and putting your coffee mug in the bathroom and forgetting where you put it for like 2 days. And
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Yep.
All of our funny
you know,
stories and everything. So
Yep.
we thank the listeners, and we have an announcement, don't we, Tina?
We
about
do.
when season 2
Yes.
will be back.
Season
Yes.
2,
The
we will
season
be
2.
back. I
Go
cannot
ahead.
wait. I am so excited about season 2. But before we start talking about even season 2 and looking forward to that, we have one last thing that we need to do to wrap up
Yes.
season 1.
We have our
On video.
giveaway now. There are a lot. Oops,
That
I
is
dropped-
awesome. I love
Hold
that
on.
we had so many interactions that you have a ton to pick from.
We have so many. So you're gonna watch me. So we'll put it
I'm watching.
up here. And I'm gonna pick out a name. Who am I gonna? Okay, I got it. And I'm gonna. Ooh, we have. Ian is our winner. He is a new follower, I think, within the last couple weeks. And that is IVUNOT 7980, has won a custom hoodie. So we're going to get in contact with him, find out exactly what he wants. We're going to make one for him, and we will definitely share that with everybody. I just put this. I just put the drawing back in here, back in the bowl.
Now you got to pull them all out to find his information.
We're going to get in contact with you to design this.
One question though, and
Yeah.
you may have already asked this, and I don't know, like on your on the Instagram page, season 2, what would you all like to see?
Yes.
As far as like we're gonna do our usual Spoonie, we'll stick with the two, the Spoonie episodes. But are there topics you want us to talk about?
Yeah.
Like when it's on our Tuesday episodes, when it's just me and Rachel.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely want to hear from you, and I will post some things on Instagram as far as different ideas. We'll get some polls done and things like that. But we also have to announce that our season 2 is starting. The first episode of season 2 will be October 1st. So we're not going to be gone for long. We could have taken a 2-3 month break, but we're so excited about how season 1 has gone that we can't wait to get back. And so we will be back October 1st.
Yep. And come October, I actually will be out your way in October.
Yes.
So that'll give us an opportunity to sit down and record together. And
yes.
That one may have to be one of the rare video, like actually showing our faces.
So yeah, we will be back very soon. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and get notifications on the episodes, and really challenge you to go back on episodes that you've missed and catch up, since we put them out so fast. If you've missed any episodes, go back and check those out before we come back in October. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at SpoonFull of Strength. Check out our Etsy shop, which is SpoonFull of Strength on Etsy. And we'll stay in touch through the Instagram page. And did we forget what today is? Today is also my birthday. What a great birthday gift to receive today, of recapping this wonderful moment in our lives. But we have to end with some outtakes. So we're going to leave you with, we hardly had any outtakes. So I really had a hard time. No, that's not true. I'm a liar. We had so many outtakes.
I promise I don't call people whores. I swear I don't call people whores, but you'll hear that on the outtake.
Yeah. Just wait for that one. Miss Tina over here thinks that she's all so nice, but she's calling y'all names behind your back. So you just have to listen to the rest of the episode to hear what she said. But have a great month of September. Enjoy your Labor Day. Just excited to catch up with you all in October.
Have a wonderful September. We will see you back.
Take care.
Woohoo! Let's party!
Okay. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Spoonful
of Strength.
Was it off? It sounded good to me.
I don't know. It sounded off on my end.
1, 2, 3. Welcome
to okay. Ready? Okay. 1,
2, 3. Well, are we on a delay?
Please edit that part out. This is going to be our outtake, our blooper episode, but sadly it's not even bloopers. This is just our raw, uncut version of our.
Welcome to Spoonful of Health.
Wait, what? Can you hear me now?
I got you.
All right.
I got you.
I guess the microphone works better if I actually have it turned up. The volume up.
We're lucky to have crap. I'm not 100% sure how to say her name.
Oh my God, why am I so butchering this introduction?
We can have a whole episode on how to calm Rachel down. Good morning. How is everybody doing today?
I'm getting big time double.
Today we have on goodness, I choked on my own spit.
Welcome to Spoonful of Strength. Today we will be talking with regarding horror. Blah, blah, blah. Let's try that.
Oh, did you just call her a whore?
I said her, but it came out horror. What the heck?
We haven't even met her yet.
I know. I know. I'm awfully judgy this morning, apparently.
No kidding. And just have a good one for us.
Yep.
Bye.
Have a good.
Did that even sound right? Have a good one for us? What the hell?
You're like, what the hell does that mean? That's another one too. It's like what comes out of your mouth and what your brain is thinking is
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later.